Every single Chinese character you've ever seen started as a picture. A drawing of a horse, a circle with a dot for the sun, a crescent for the moon, three peaks side by side for a mountain. Somewhere between 3,000 years ago and today, those drawings turned into the characters we use now. And many people, including people who've studied Chinese for years, have never actually seen that transformation happen. And today, I'm going to show it to you, from the first character ever carved into a bone to the version we use daily in China today. Hi, my name is Falafel. I'm a Chinese polyglot bridging Chinese and Arab cultures. I talk a lot about languages, culture, history, and business between two regions here. If those topics interest you, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's start at the very beginning. The oldest Chinese characters we have ever found are called 甲骨文, oracle bone script, and the story of how we found them is honestly one of the strangest accidents in the history of archaeology. In 1899, a scholar in Beijing named Wang Yirong was sick with malaria. His doctor prescribed a traditional medicine that included a strange ingredient, dragon bones, which actually is ground up turtle shells and animal bones sold in pharmacies as medicine. Wang Yirong looked closely at the dragon bones before they were grounded into powder, and he noticed something. There were marks on them, and they weren't just random marks. They were symbols carved in patterns, and he had just discovered the oldest confirmed writing system in East Asia, completely by accident, in a bag of medicine. And those bones turned out to be over 3,000 years old, from the late Shang dynasty. They weren't random scraps. They were used for divination, asking the gods questions, then reading the cracks that formed when the bone was heated, and carving the question and the answer directly onto the shell. And here's what's interesting. Those carved symbols were already recognizable even at 3,000 years ago. You can look at some of them and see exactly what they're supposed to be. Person, a tree, the sun. Chinese writing didn't start as abstract symbols that had to be memorized with no logic behind them. It started as pictures, and that single fact shaped the entire language for the next 3,000 years. This category of character even has a name, 象形字, pictographic characters, characters that look like the thing they represent. Let me show you 6 of them, because once you see this, you'll never look at Chinese writing the same way again. First, 马, horse. In ancient script, this was drawn as a four-legged animal with a mane, a tail, and an eye. Over thousands of years, that drawing was simplified and stylized into the character you see today. But look closely. The vertical stroke is the body, the horizontal strokes are the legs, and the dot near the top is the eye. 日, sun and also day. Originally a circle with a dot in the center, exactly how a child draws the sun. And the circle becomes a rectangle over time, easier to write with a brush. And because a day is measured by the sun's movement, this one character does double duty. It means both sun and day. 月, moon and also month, a crescent moon with a line inside it. And because a month is one full cycle of the moon, this character also carries 2 meanings at once. 山, mountain, 3 peaks side by side. This is one of the oldest characters in the entire system, and it has looked essentially like a mountain range for over 3,000 years. 水, water, flowing lines tracing the movement of a river, a central current with smaller flows branching off to entire side. If you slow down and really look at it, you can still see the river moving. 木, tree and also wood, a trunk rising up, branches spreading above, roots extending below. 6 strokes, and every tree you've ever seen is somehow contained inside it. And because trees are made of wood, this character means both the living thing and the material it becomes. This is the part that I think gets lost when people say Chinese is hard. These aren't arbitrary symbols you brute force into memory. Every one of them carries a reason, history, a picture that someone somewhere 3,000 years ago looked at the world and decided to draw. Oracle bone script didn't stay carved onto turtle shells forever. As Chinese civilization moved through different dynasties, the writing moved with it, and it changed shape every single time. After oracle bones, bronze came 金文, bronze script, bronze vessels during the Zhou dynasty. The characters got rounder, more deliberate, more ceremonial. This was writing meant to last forever, literally cast in metal for religious and royal ceremonies. Then came the script that I actually care about the most because it's the one that inspired everything I do now. 篆书, seal script. Seal script emerged and was standardized around the Qing dynasty over 2,000 years ago when China was unified under its first emperor, and it is to this day one of the most beautiful form Chinese writing has ever taken. The lines are elegant, curved, almost architectural. Every character looks less like handwriting and more like a small piece of art carved in stone or bronze. And this is the script you still see today on traditional Chinese stamps and seals, the red ink stamps used to sign paintings, documents, and artwork. After seal script came 隶书, clerical script. It started forming during the late Warring States period. This, as Qing state scribes wrote faster, more angular versions of seal script on bamboo slips, but it didn't become the dominant script until the Han dynasty, between 206 BCE and 220 CE. The name itself tells you exactly why it existed. Li refers to a petty clerk or official. This was writing built for people processing paperwork, not carvings, monuments. Flatter, more angular, replacing seal scripts, elegant curves with short, straight strokes that hand could produce quickly and repeatedly all day without losing legibility. It's the exact same trade-off you'd expect. Seal script was designed to be beautiful and carved ones. Clerical script was designed to be written thousands of times a day by an exhausted government scribe. From clerical script came 楷书, regular script, which is essentially the character shapes still used in formal Chinese writing today. It started taking shape near the end of the Han dynasty around 200 CE, and a calligrapher named Zhong Yao, working during the Cao Wei period in the early 200s, is credited with pushing it towards the structured, balanced form we'd actually recognize now. By the Tang dynasty, roughly 400 years later, regular script had become the gold standard of Chinese calligraphy. And then, in the 20th century, something happened that had nothing to do with beauty or speed, and everything to do with politics. After the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, the country was dealing with mass illiteracy, and the government wanted a fast fix. The original plan was actually far more radical than simplifying characters. Mao himself had said as early as 1936 that he thought China should eventually abandon characters altogether and switch to Latin alphabet, the way Vietnam did. But by 1950, with Chinese nationalism running high after the revolution, a wholesale switch to Roman letters started to look too foreign to be politically survivable. So the government pulled back from full alphabetization and settled on the middle path instead. Keep the characters but cut them down. A draft scheme was compiled in November 1954, published for public feedback in January 1955, and finally, on January 31st, 1956, the State Council officially promulgated the Chinese character simplification scheme. 515 simplified characters and 54 simplified components rolled out in 4 stages. Strokes were reduced, repeated components were streamlined, and in many cases, centuries-old handwritten shorthand versions that ordinary people had already been using informally for generations were simply made official. And that's why today you'll see 2 versions of what is technically the same character. Traditional 繁体字, still used in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, and most overseas Chinese communities, and simplified 简体字, used across mainland China, Singapore, and Malaysia since 1956. 5 major stages over 3,000 years, and every single one of them existed because of a specific practical problem someone was trying to solve. We had a clerk who needed to write faster, a calligrapher chasing balance and beauty, and a young republic trying to teach an entire population to read in a single generation. Here's what I actually find remarkable about all of this. Most modern writing systems are alphabetic. They are a small set of letters that represent sounds with no visual connection to what the word actually means. But Chinese is one of the only major writing systems on earth that never fully made that jump. 3,000 years later, Mu still visibly carries a trunk, branches, and roots. And when you learn Chinese characters as a system to see instead of a system to memorize, to brute force, it stops being difficult. It becomes a conversation with everyone who has ever written that character before you. That is a very long conversation, and I wanted a way to actually hold a piece of it. A while back, I went looking for jewelry that reflected this history of the way I actually see it. Modern, minimal, quality that lasts, and I couldn't find it, unfortunately. So I decided to design it myself. Every piece in this collection is cast directly from seal script, the same 篆书 I just showed you. And the reason why I chose the seal script style is because it is one of the oldest forms of Chinese writing with a history over 2,000 years. Unlike modern Chinese fonts, seal scripts preserves the ancient spirit of the language, and every stroke reflects centuries of history, craftsmanship, and cultural tradition. While it can be more difficult for modern readers to recognize at first glance, that mystery is part of its charm, and it invites people to slow down, look closer, and appreciate the beauty behind each character. And if any part of this history genuinely surprised you, that is exactly why I wanted to make this video before I try to sell you anything. I want you to actually see what you'd be wearing, not just to be told to buy it. And the shop is open now, link in the description and in my bio. And if you made it this far, thank you genuinely for sitting through 3,000 years of history with me. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!